At the top of a cliff, a unique castle has watched over the river Tagus for over 8 centuries. A living memory of a time when Portugal was expanding southwards, it was a refuge for Hospitaller knights, the kingdom's treasury, and a guardian of relics brought from the Holy Land. The time has come to discover the history and stories of Belver Castle. Come and discover Portugal with us. Please like, subscribe, and leave your comment. Your support and opinions are very important to us. Thank you. The village of Belver is located in the municipality of Gavião in the northwestern part of the district of Porto Alegre. It stretches along a south-facing slope with terraces planted with olive trees and vineyards. The Belver stream runs through the village and flows into the Tagus River. The landscape around Belver combines elements of Beira Baixa and Alentejo regions. According to local memory, the tradition of wine and olive growing dates back to Roman times. Coins and inscriptions from that period have been found in the surrounding area. Other older remains include the Penedo Gordo dolmen, evidence of human presence in the megalithic era. These layers of occupation show that the site offered shelter and access to the river long before the Middle Ages. The Tagus, in addition to being a political border, was a communication route and economic hub. From Belver, boatmen transported people and goods, and the fields provided sustenance for those who lived on the hillside. But the horizon here is dominated by the castle, whose silhouette cuts across the sky above the granite cliffs. Before the so-called Christian Reconquest, the right bank of the Tagus was part of the Islamic Harb al-Andalus. There are no known monumental ruins of Islamic origin in Belver, but historians admit that the hillside would have had at least one watchtower to guard the river, as was the case in other parts of the valley. The place name Guidintesta, recorded in one of the 12th century donations, suggests the existence of a Muslim or Mozarabic settlement. When, at the end of the 12th century, the Christian kings advanced southwards, these defenses were quickly adapted to the new reality. The Order of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem, better known as the Knights Hospitaller, had established itself in Portugal in previous decades. Its very first activity was charitable. The monastery of Setúbal in the current municipality of Matosinhos became the order's first Portuguese headquarters and offered shelter to pilgrims traveling along the Way of St. James. The Hospitallers provided spiritual and medical care to those who were traveling to the tomb of the Apostle. This charitable aspect defined the organization, although from the second half of the 12th century onwards, the order became militarized to defend the Holy Land and participate in the Iberian Reconquest. In 1194, already performing military functions, the knights received from King Sancho I of Portugal extensive territories located on the right bank of the Tagus, with the obligation to build a castle. That 1194 deed of donation stipulated that the order should build a fortress called Belver, emulating the fortress that the Hospitallers had in the Holy Land. The name is no coincidence. Belver, good view or beautiful view, recalls the castle of Belvoir, now Kochav HaYarden, in Galilee, in northern Israel, whose layout and central keep served as a model. With this initiative, King Sancho I intended to strengthen the border and balance the hegemony that the Knights Templar exercised in the region. To ensure the work was completed, he allocated income and included the castle among the places where the royal treasure was kept. The castle was built quickly. As early as 1210, in the will of Sancho I, it is mentioned as completed, constituting the first Portuguese fortress of the Hospitallers. The complex retains its Romanesque structure with an oval wall adapted to the terrain and completely crenellated. In the center, the rectangular keep with 3 floors and access via a raised door was originally reached by a mobile staircase. On the eastern side, the most vulnerable, the wall is reinforced by 4 square towers. On the western side, which is more steep, there are 2 semicircular towers. The main entrance opens to the south and was defended by 2 towers, one of which is larger. The Traitor's Gate to the west allowed for discreet escapes or entrances and is located between a circular tower and a projection of the wall. The interior had a cistern, warehouses and a residential tower. The high gate of the keep and the chemin de ronde around the entire circumference of the wall reflects Eastern practices, testifying to the experience acquired by the Hospitallers during the Crusades. During the crisis of 1383-1385, the castle remained loyal to King John I. Constable Nuno Alves Pereira, a knight of the order and son of Prior Álvaro Gonçalves Pereira, had the defences renovated around 1390, adding a cistern next to the back door. Despite subsequent renovations, Belver preserves its original layout and is considered one of the most complete examples of Romanesque military architecture in Portugal. To understand the significance of Belver, it is worth briefly recalling the evolution of the Order of the Hospital in Portugal. Its origins date back to a hostel founded in Jerusalem around 1060 by merchants from Amalfi, which after the First Crusade became an order of friars who combined monastic life with the protection of pilgrims. The order received papal approval and spread throughout Europe. In Portugal, it settled in the monastery of Lessa do Balio in the first half of the 12th century, where the rule of Saint John of Jerusalem was practiced in the service of travelers and the sick. From 1128 onwards, the monastery became the first Portuguese headquarters of the order, also known as the Priory of Lessa. During the reign of Afonso Henriques, the Hospitallers received donations of land and churches in the north. The king entrusted them with the care of the bridge over the river Lessa and exempted them from taxes. The order had 4 main functions: to assist pilgrims and the poor in Lessa and other hospices, to provide shelter for knights traveling to the Holy Land, to administer its commendations, exploiting land and collecting rents, and to participate progressively in the military reconquest and defense of the borders. Christian victories in the 12th and 13th centuries brought the Hospitallers new territorial possessions, especially in the Upper Alentejo and on the south bank of the Tagus, where Belver, Amieira and other towns on the Tagus line are located. In 1232, King Sancho II donated the town and lands of Crato to the order. In the following decades, the knights founded new commanderies, built a castle, and after the Battle of Salado in 1340, transferred the Portuguese headquarters from Lessa do Balio to Crato. This change, confirmed by medieval documents, marked the transition from the Priory of Lessa to the Priory of Crato, a designation that lasted until the 19th century. The new convent fortress of Flor da Rosa replicated in another location its eastern origins. The word Crato corresponds in Arabic to the knight's Krak, evoking the Syrian fortress Krak de Chevalier. The order continued to benefit from rents and exemptions throughout the Middle Ages. In the 14th century, King Denis of Portugal initiated a policy of control over the military clergy. With the extinction of the Order of the Temple in 1312, part of the Templar possessions were incorporated into the newly created Order of Christ, but the Hospitallers, kept under papal protection, retained their autonomy and some commendations. In the 15th and 16th centuries, the seat of Cratu was entrusted to royal princes who held the title of Prior of Cratu. Among them was Prince Luís, son of King Manuel I, who donated the carved altar in the Chapel of St. Blaise to Belver. Inside the grounds of Belver Castle stands the Chapel of São Brás, St. Blaise, a transitional temple between the Renaissance and Mannerism built in the second half of the 16th century. The chapel has a rectangular floor plan, a simple facade with a plain portal, topped by a small circular window and finished with a bell gable. Inside, the nave is covered by a barrel vault, and the chancel has a ceiling covered with painted coffers and preceded by a triumphal arch supported by Doric columns. The most interesting feature is the wooden altarpiece that occupies the main altar. It is an Italian-inspired Mannerist carving with a central niche where Saint Blaise is seen stepping on a pig, surrounded by 28 niches for reliquary busts and arms. These small reliquaries were brought from Palestine by the Knights Hospitaller and offered by the aforementioned Prince Luís, Prior of Cratu between 1527 and 1555. The presence of a pig at the saint's feet refers to a legend according to which Saint Blaise convinced a wolf to release a farmer's animal. In Alto Alentejo, this image is linked to the protection of livestock during slaughter. The chapel was a place of great devotion. The cult of the holy relics of Belver became an annual festival. The images of the saints with cavities in their chests held fragments attributed to biblical episodes, pieces of Jesus' manger, hair from the child, or hair from Mary Magdalene according to tradition. Over time, some of these relics were transferred to the parish church of Belver, where they still are venerated today. After its construction, Belver Castle became the administrative center of a vast hospitaller estate. The order organized farms, commendations, and rural houses in the surrounding area. The rents financed welfare actions in Lesser and military campaigns in the south. The castle housed part of the royal treasure and served as a prison for important prisoners. From 1232 onwards, with the donation of Cratu, the economic weight gradually shifted to the Alto Alentejo. The construction of the Flor de Rosa monastery and the need to establish a more central base led the order to move its headquarters to Cratu in the 14th century. Even so, Belver continued to be part of the defensive network of the Tagus line, together with Almorol, Amieira do Tejo and Abrantes, monitoring movements on the river. With the advance of the modern age, the castle lost its strategic importance. The burden of military maintenance and the displacement of pilgrimage routes contributed to its decline. The violent earthquake of 1755 caused landslides and the enclosure was partially abandoned. Throughout the 19th century, it served as a cemetery. Some of the houses in the village used stones from the walls in private construction projects. In 1910, the castle was classified as a national monument, and in the 1940s and 1950s, the Directorate General for National Buildings and Monuments promoted restoration works that consolidated the keep, rebuilt the battlements, and restored the complex to its former dignity. Today, a visit to the castle allows you to walk along the ramparts, climb the tower, and contemplate the vastness of the valley. Ultimately, Belver Castle is more than just a defensive structure. Its origins are linked to the memory of the Crusades and the cosmopolitan experience of the Hospitallers, who brought architectural models from the east to Portugal. At the same time, it symbolizes the conquest of the territory and the integration of populations under new administrations. Nowadays, Belver continues to fulfill its destiny to watch over the Tagus and guard its banks. Thank you for discovering Portugal with us. If you liked the video, please click on the like button and subscribe to the channel to follow our new releases.